The far north of Scotland is a bit of a world to itself. A visit to all three of its coasts makes for a great 400-kilometre Audax. We were based at the Carnegie Hall at Portmahomack.
Looking very trepidatious today.
The 250 miles are to be done within 27 hours. Signing up to that represents quite a commitment. The route sheet's important not so much for the route as for the distance between controls, which can be up to 100 kilometres apart. Just over 40 riders set off from the hall at 6 a.m. Once you've been to the far north, you tend to come back again and again. So most of the riders were very familiar faces. But sprinkled among the old hands were newcomers who were riding their first 400 to qualify for PBP. If you haven't ridden a 400-kilometre Audax before, it's very demanding because it means you're going to be out all night, really. Many such rides in other parts of the world make use of 24-hour facilities. In this part of the world, they don't exist. Portmahomack lies on a peninsula stuck out into the North Sea, so the early part of the ride is flat and fast, especially with tailwind. But after 20 miles of the ride, we're into Sutherland, which is a whole different ball game. Sutherland is 6,000 square kilometres in area, it's got 13,000 inhabitants, 1,200 kilometres of roads and 710 kilometres of coastline. Most of those 13,000 people live on the east coast.
Yeah, sure.
So these are fairly ordinary traffic conditions.
When the wind's with you.
Fantastic.
Back the way I got 73.9 kilometres an hour downhill with the wind.
73.9.
Right.
That's not bad.
In the Alps I've only got up to 75.
So, this is essentially the west coast here, isn't it?
Oh, it is very much the west coast.
That gap there, that's the Atlantic Ocean.
Perfect place to see.
There's been quite a lot of European investment in the roads over the years, and the road service is surprisingly good.
You get the wee ferry across there, you can cycle to Cape Wrath and join the Cape Wrath Fellowship.
Not today though.
Not too late.
Other things to do.
The fuel, however, is very expensive. That's over $11 per US gallon.
Engage low gear.
Yep. Hi, Jimmy. How's it going?
Our 400 took us along the roads of the north coast. Fortunately, few of the climbs were like this one in Durness, but the north coast is something of a roller coaster. The weather was the clearest I'd ever seen it up there, showing off the scenery in the finest way possible. It's harder to see the 80-odd kilometres of headwind that we had, though.
Trying to convey the rarity of seeing Ben Hope and Ben Loyal.
The wind between Durness and Strathy was essentially from the east, but as you see from this map, we sort of go all over the shop. To ride these distances, you have to know how to manage your expectations, to know when you're going to be fast and when you'll be slow. It's also vital to keep your sense of humour.
Lovely. Hilly.
That sense of humour had been in short supply at Strathy when we turned.
Half one. The line again.
No, it is largely uphill, isn't it?
I have no idea.
13 kilometres from here.
How many?
About 13.
13, yeah.
The night is hard to capture. We saw deer, the dark and the Milky Way. We became cold, tired and disorientated.
That's the main thing, you get your crumpets, eh? Yeah. Yeah.
Hard to believe we're having soup at this time of the morning.
Yeah. You alright, boys?
We're fine, thank you.
Yeah. We've got 3 more to come. Right. We think 2 of them might be another hour yet.
Craskin at 3:30 in the morning feels like the centre of another world.
So what do you think to your first experience of a 400 then?
Interesting. Much longer than I thought.
Yeah.
And I was hating every minute the ride between Durness and Lovely.
Yeah.
I thought it would be quicker.
That's hard work, that.
It is just. I thought I would do it in 22 hours, but it doesn't look like it, does it?
No.
But if I do finish it in time, I certainly will be back for a 600.
Very good. 5-2. Well done, dear. That's amazing.
A bit of a scoot back, we left at 5. God, that's a struggle.
That's all right. They know what time you came back in, I made sure. Denise is busy in minutes.
So what was the worst bit of that day then?
The night time. Yeah, especially the 16 miles to Slough. It just went on forever. Yeah, please. Yeah, there's my card. Oh, we just made it. Well done, Steve.
Well done, you holding me on this last
That was my hardest 400 ever.
I think what was tough was neither of us had quite enough clothes in the night, so it was very cold. We were out there 6 hours 20 minutes. We were shivering, weren't we? I mean, I'm wearing everything I possess, and so are you, including your own legs.
Let's have a team photo then of you two.
I couldn't have a coffee today.
So, having done the 400, do you feel on about to do the 600 now?
Well, I was about to say, means I can't just sleep in the 400 and I can't see how I would have time to do the 600.
That was a tough 400 day. 2 minutes. Just got in time, yeah.
So how many times have you organised a big Audax up here now then, Denise?
Oh, since 1994.
Ooh, lots then.
Most years.
Has this been the best weather ever, or?
Well, normally we're in June, so we have had this good weather, but never ever for the 400.
No.
Last time the 400 it snowed, galed, and all sorts of things.
Ah,
But this has been the best weather for the 400.
I think people have been very appreciative of the scenery. It's been lovely.
Yes.
Couldn't imagine it better, really.
I think this has been the best year for views.
Yeah.
It was absolutely spectacular. And of course there was no midges.
Too early for midges.
So
They're all still on holiday.